Perfect.
There we go, and it's telling us. Cool. Alrighty, cool. There we go, cool. Okay, so kia ora everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session. So this is part of the new Neurodevelopmental Clinical Network, which is part of the New Zealand Child and Youth Clinical Network. So a little bit of information about the Neurodevelopmental Clinical Network and how that works is it's part of the Paediatric Society of New Zealand, which is an organisation of health professionals working to progress health and wellbeing of children in tamariki. What it does is it offers opportunity to engage with other professionals with similar interests. So the Lunch and Learn is an example of different professionals coming together to discuss some learning and to look at supporting evidence-based practice. Which is what the next point is in terms of looking at supporting evidence-based practice. And then, cool. And also looks at offering grants for education for members as well. So there's more information about the Paediatric Society on the website there. And we'll move through, I'll get Denise to move the slide on and I'll introduce our speaker for today. So today's speaker is Denise James. She's going to be presenting about Ngā mea Whaitake, what matters to me, and looking at whānau-led entry into service conversation. And there's a little bit of information about Denise's background there. So she's a skilled paediatric physiotherapist with a strong record in clinical leadership. And as part of the Neurodevelopmental Network, she's assumed the co-chair role in that as well. Her commitment to enhancing the disability sector is evident through her successful introduction of quality improvements and innovations. And Denise has a real focus on collaboration and partnerships, and it's exciting to have her in a leadership position in terms of driving positive change within the network. So I'm Donna Smith. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm a children's physio and clinical fellow. So I'll pass you over to Denise.
Well, kia ora koutou, everybody. As Donna said, Denise James, and I'm currently working as Program Manager in the Northern region to improve child development services. And what I really wanted to be coming and sharing with you today is one of the innovations that we've led in the Northern region that we've been able to implement, and just to talk through some of that and have an opportunity, I guess, just to go on to have further discussion around, how we can share innovations, because there's been a lot of work that's been done within the Child Development Improvement Project across the country. So Ngā mea Whaitake is an entry to service innovation. It's what matters to me. Here is the cake that we celebrated, the launch in the Northern region. It's very important in child development services, I guess, celebrating the launch of this. And I really want to acknowledge the teams within the Northern region. So Te Tai Tokoro, Waitemata, Te Takatumai, Auckland and Counties Manukau. So the teams that have really come together to both develop this and to implement this. And in particular, we have had quality improvement champions from each of the districts that have been really key in driving this initiative as well. So Danielle Fernandez at Waitemata, Rochelle Timmins in Northland. We've had Michelle Kippen and Sinead Callaway in Counties Manukau and Emma Darby in Auckland. So just really want to acknowledge those people who've been a key part of this project as well. Essentially, Ngā mea Whaitake is really a regional aligned entry to service process within the Northern region. It's a conversation with whānau to really understand what their needs are and to develop a support plan to meet the needs of our families. And we've developed this through a number of key components of work. So firstly, we've drawn from guidance from the Enabling Good Lives and the work that's been happening at Whaikaha and the new national direction. We've had input from our district and quality improvement leads. A key component of this has been regional-led innovations, which we have drawn on, and they've been led in the Northern Region, and particularly the 0 to 3 coordinated pathway led by Cherie Taylor, led by Cherie Taylor, who who led that from Waitemata, and the Haere Mai Welcome to Service innovation that was led at Te Tokatū Mai, Auckland. We've also looked at gathering whānau voice. We have had a couple of projects that have been commissioned through Hapai Te Hauora and Moana Connect to gather the voice of our Māori and Pacific whānau to understand what's working well for them within services. We've spoken with the Lived Experience Group in the South Island, and we've also looked at the whānau voice that has come out of innovations as well. We had a testing phase, and we've had some great feedback from our CDS teams within the Northern Region. And there's also been a National Child Development Services Evaluation Group, which we've taken a steer from as well in developing this. So just moving on. So what matters to me, and what are the things that we've actually done within this project? So we've actually designed and rolled out a regionally consistent entry to service approach. We have tried to really have a similar approach so that we reduce variation within the region, so which will actually benefit our families, who we know sometimes will actually move from one service to another. We wanted to have a entry to service where we actually welcomed families into our service, and we had much more of a coaching conversation approach to understanding what the needs were for our families. We've also developed a guidance document, which it also has a high-level service journey map, just to look at consistency, but also looking at what some of the processes that in each of the services we were going to need to look at addressing as well in order to get some consistency. We've developed a regional training where we have had workshops in the districts to roll out the training, but we've also developed some online training modules covering topics such as building whakawhanaungatanga with families, te ao Māori models of care. We've looked at coaching conversations. We've also looked at developing goals with families as well. And as I said, we've also looked at our district level processes as well, and tried to bring those into some sort of alignment as well, so that we can have a very similar process across the Northern Region. One of the biggest pieces of work that has been an electronic form, which is on Whānau Tahi, which is the shared care portal, and the shared care portal is able to be accessed by both clinicians and also by whānau. So this is where we are capturing a child and whānau support plan, but we're also capturing what is important to families as well, to reduce duplication in the story that families need to tell as well, around what is important to them, the strengths of their families, the things that their child enjoys doing, what some of the goals may be as well, who's in the support plan, and this is able to be viewed and edited by whānau. Let's see what's happened. So some of the key benefits. So I think there are key benefits both for our tamariki and from whānau, and also for our child development services as well. So in terms of having this conversation up front, which is really looking at all of the needs that families will be coming into services with, that we are endeavouring to provide well-coordinated support for our families, and that the support that we are offering reflects what matters most to whānau. For our services, that we have an early understanding of the needs and the priorities of whānau, we're able to plan coordinated support, and through this, that we can plan and improve flow through our services as well. In terms of for our families, again, we're endeavouring to build partnership, better engagement through whānau-led practices. So whānau having a voice and really leading the conversation, whānau having the voice in developing the support plan that matters to them. For our services, as I said, we've developed some training and development that will support the National Direction for Disability Support Services, and we're looking to embed enabling good lives within this program as well. One of the things that I didn't say was that the training and support, we've developed modules that are this week, I believe, just gone up onto Ko Awatea Learn, which are able to be accessed by our clinicians as well. Again, for our tamariki and whānau, we're looking for a consistent approach from each clinician and every district, which is in the Northern Region. So this reduces our variability, and we know that this can happen from clinician to clinician, but also our district processes can also drive that as well. So we're wanting to have a very similar approach for our families, and for our clinicians it provides that very clear entry to service approach and support planning processes for the region as well. We have for tamariki and whānau, developing support plans and goals that are visible, able to be viewed and edited by whānau, and whānau are able to share their plan as well. So how that happens is that there is a family portal that you can go on to shared care. Families get a login for their plan. They are able to view the plan, and they're actually able to edit it as well. At the moment, it's visible in health and for families, but families are actually able to give viewing rights to other services such as education services or other community services that might be involved as a viewing right as well. In terms of for our services, that we have got standard documentation and recording easily accessed by all members of the support team. So we are no longer trying to find the support plan in many different places, but we've actually got it in one place as well for all of our team members to be able to see. So what I wanted to show you here was the Ngā Mea Whaitake What Matters to Me form with the kinds of things that we are gathering from to put onto this plan for families as well. And it's really, we are hoping that it's driven by families. It's got what's important to them, what the information they would like in their sharing about them, their whānau, the things that are important to them, things that they would like to celebrate, support preferences, how they would like to be supported, is that with home visiting, things like that, when they would like to be seen. We know that there are a lot of people that are involved in the care of families and providing support, so we really do want to make sure that we have gathered that and it's in one place for everybody to be seen. Looking to gather the goals, the things that we will do for ourselves, and looking at setting the goals for the next 6 months as well, and what is the support team going to do to actually support those goals as well. We've got areas there to gather for equipment and other community services that are involved as well. So one of the huge benefits with this, I think, is that it is in one place for both family members and for clinicians to be able to view the support plan for families. There is also the ability, and we've just enabled this, it hasn't quite gone live yet in the Northern Region, but we have enabled the uploading of documents like home programs onto that, information around supports that might be available, so we're able to upload documents for families as well. And one of the things that we are really encouraging is that families are able to use and edit this plan as well, which I think is is a really huge benefit as well. I wanted to just give any opportunity for any questions just at the moment, if anything has come through at all that people wanted to talk about. If any questions come up?
So kia ora. I've also, there's a Padlet open, which I've put the link in if anybody wants to type a question, or there's also the chat there as well, or you can just ask Denise.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hi, I'm not sure if I'm on there. My name's Susie. I work for a community trust in Taitokoro. So we liaise a lot with whangara, and I'm curious, is this actually already in place perhaps for some of our whānau living in the regions who will be accessing Te Whatu Ora services? Be really useful for a few of our families.
Yes, it is. So, so this has gone live. So we went live with this in March. It's been a really big change process. So, you know, in terms of we've got people learning a new system to, so it is slowly being rolled out. We are managing to, I guess we're able to keep records of how many plans are in place as well. So one of the benefits is that, you know, yes, you would be able to see that. Families could actually allow you to view that as well. And I guess, sorry.
Well, my question is, how would I go about advocating for some of our whānau to utilise this?
Well, at the moment, this has been used through Child Development Services, and some of the other child health services would have access to this as well. Shared care is also available with other forms for personalised care plans as well. So it's actually able to be viewed by GPs. So I think one of the things that you would be able to do would make contact with Te Whatu Ora itself to be able to find out whether or not, so whether it's a child development, child health service, to find out.
So that was my question. If I were to approach the child development team in Whangarei and suggested this, it wouldn't kind of be out of the blue. This is something that they're already moving towards using.
Absolutely. They're moving towards using this. So it's for children, you know, and children that are within our services, disability services. Absolutely. Yeah.
And to confirm, education can also cross into this platform as well.
They can view it when families give them the permission to do so. And give them the ability to do that. So families own this plan and they can actually allow other services to view it. What the other services don't have at this point is editing ability, but certainly families can edit, and we are really encouraging families that they could really update their plan and change the plan so that, you know, if there is other goals or other supports that are coming in and they want that into the one place, that they are able to actually add that in.
And is there support for whānau who maybe aren't, you know, so equipped to do that, or just so overloaded with having a child with additional needs that actually that's just not within their realm of capability? Like, is there you know, support available for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that this is the, you know, I think there's a couple of considerations here. One of the considerations is whether people have got access to an electronic medium as well to be able to view it. So we have the ability to be able to print this out as well and to give this in a low-tech version to families as well. I guess that's how we would have always done that. A lot of our plans would have been, you know, sort of more of a low-tech option. There is an opportunity here for clinicians to be sitting with families to fill in this form. There's an opportunity for families to be able to, you know, once they've got access to it, to be able to edit it themselves as well. So I see this as a real partnership in developing this as well. And I guess we are supporting families to hear what's important to them. And that includes how much support they might want to actually be generating this form as well.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Right. I guess one of the other things that I really wanted to point out is when we actually got Whānau voice around what was working really well for our child development services, families said that they felt that our clinicians did a really wonderful job of coming alongside them to talk about what support needs they might have or what goals they wanted to work on. What they felt they would really like, though, is to have a consistent place and a consistent way that this was recorded, written down for them, and where they could see it. Because I think that that's where the variability was often coming through, was that actually, often the plan might be in the body of the notes, but it might not be easily visible. So this was something that families had definitely said it would be really, really helpful for them.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat from Beth about what is the criteria for whānau selection. So she has some whānau who have taken part in this and some who haven't. And is it more about staff training and capacity, or is it about how many services they have involved? I just wonder if you'd like to respond to that, Denise.
Yeah, look, the goal here is that that all children coming through our services would have a plan. If we've set goals with that family and we've got a support plan in place, that we would have this for those children and whānau. Obviously, this is a new initiative, so I understand at the moment that there is, people are learning. At the moment, what we are doing is that we are asking clinicians to do this with new children that are entering into service, so that we start to build this as we've got new children entering in, and that we also do this at points of review where we would perhaps introduce it to a family who's already currently in service and introduce it at that point. We are wanting these plans to be reviewed at least 6 monthly with whānau, and our reporting is able to show us when plans have been generated and when they've been reviewed as well. So there is a reporting mechanism that's actually visible and able to be used there for us, just to help us with that as well. Have I answered the question there?
If I can respond as well, Denise, is one of a clinician in the Northern region, who's helping roll out this work. That I think the answer is more about capacity. And so we are doing exactly what you said, Denise. New whānau into services. We're always making sure that we do the entry to service conversation and start this process, but taking time to go back to people that are already on your caseload, that obviously takes time. So I wonder, Beth, if you've got whānau who you think would benefit from it, then, and if you know who the key therapists from the child development teams that are involved with families, I'd suggest that you have a conversation with those therapists to say, are you going to have a entry to service or whatever conversation to start the shared care thing, and say that you'd want to be involved. I think potentially speaking to the clinicians involved in the first instance may, help prioritise them deciding which families you start this with, because when you're doing this, it's not a quick conversation, and so when you go to do this entry to service or shared care plan, if whānau are expecting you to do, I'm a physiotherapy session, but you actually want to go back to have a conversation about shared care, that takes some negotiating with families about introducing it to people that are already involved with us. So I guess it's just a rollout process. So it starts and we've got to do catch up on other families, if that answers Ed's question.
I think it's also really important to recognise that this is a living document and that it develops over time, and that as we build relationship with families, as they get to know us, you know, it will be an evolving document as well, and that it's not an expectation that this is completed on the first visit, for example. So this is actually, it is a document where we are capturing a support plan, if you like, but what it is reflective of is the relationship that you've built with families, the conversations that you've had, to really understand what's important and what the family's priorities and aspirations and goals.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Okay, sorry, I hope you can hear me. I'm not quite sure what to do about it.
No. There was another question by Donna, who said, is this conversation happening at the initial appointment?
And
Could I speak to that?
Yes, you can, and I think Denise started answering that, but yep.
Okay. The initial appointment thing, speaking as a clinician, often when we get a referral, say as a physio, it might be, oh, you know, I don't know, toe walking or something like that. And so the family are expecting the physio appointment to be about addressing that. And so the same way that you build any relationship, it takes time. And often we've had conversations in our team about that we sort of between us expect that this form will have been completed at about by the third appointment that you might have, because you need to obviously come in and build a relationship and have a conversation about what they're expecting and introduce this at the same time as you're seeing the child. And many parents are working, and so they take time off thinking that they're going to have a physio appointment. So it's something that is, the goal is the initial appointment, but that might not be exactly what happens. So we're trying to do it, as physios, we're trying to do it within the first sort of 3 appointments to work towards completing it, because it depends on each individual family, their capacity, their ability to have an appointment with you and take time off work and that sort of thing.
I think for me, the really big shift here is that we take time to come alongside families and let families have the voice to lead what it is that is really important for them. And that we are building that whakawhanaungatanga, that we're taking time to really hear what's important to families, and that we're actually recording it so that families don't need to tell that to the next person who's coming in as well. So we are capturing this in one place as well. It has been a real workaround for us to find an IT platform. I think it's been a real achievement for the region to be able to to build on what was already here, to bring some development and to actually have a platform for families as well. So yeah, I wonder, are there any other questions at all?
Yeah, there's nothing else on the, there's a question from Jane about privacy. There isn't anything in Padlet, so yeah.
So look, in terms of privacy, this has got, this is has got privacy really built into the whole system. So it is a system that is, I guess, Te Whatu Ora have got their security, privacy around as well. For our families, there are, as I said, they get logged in, they get their own secure logins as well. So it is not information that is just out there for anybody to view. And so, yeah, there is security definitely, and privacy is a really big part of that. But that's not my level of expertise, but I know that Te Whatu Ora have definitely, for it to be a part of the Northern Region sort of clinical portal as well, it has had to have a degree of rigour around that as well. One of the things that I thought would be really good for us to kind of have a think about for next time when we come together. Hopefully this would generate a little bit of thinking in your region, or even within the Northern Region as well, about how you might be capturing tamariki and whānau voice and their care preferences, their support plans, and what opportunities there are for us to kind of keep building sort of this consistency in an entry to service for our whānau. And one of the other things that I think has come out of the Child Development Services program of work really is really as for an opportunity for us to brainstorm how we really share our resources around the region for the work that we've done with integrity, and across regions and in a national space as well. I'm just going to stop sharing for the moment. And I just wanted to hand back over to you. We're just about a minute out, but I think there has just been such a tremendous amount of great work that has happened across the Child Development Services Expand and Transform program of work. We've got a number of innovations, and it would be really wonderful to be able to share that, but how do we share these resources as well? And maybe it's about how do we actually brainstorm some of that moving forward as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions Grace has just come through and said as well, in terms of would love to develop and emulate in other regions as well. So again, as we were saying, in a month's time, we'll come back and look at the knowledge translation. So that would be a really good opportunity for people to, as Denise was saying, have a think about what are you currently doing in your regions, what could you change, and even a bit in terms of how could we make that happen as well. So there should, I think there's a last slide potentially, or it's just got the date up for our knowledge translation session in a month. So I'll see, have you got that slide, Denise? Or?
I don't actually, sorry.
I'll see if I can pop it up. So yeah, so as we said, the idea would be that we have our knowledge translation. Oh, here you go, I'll share this one. On the 10th of October. Again, we'll have flyers that will come around with the links on that. But just again, encouraging you to have a chat with your colleagues, and come back with some ideas for discussion on there as well. There we go. So there's the information there. So as I said, what we have is there's the discussion page on the Padlet. So if you have any other ideas, feel free to come through and put them in there. There's a mailing list and sharing ideas. And as I said, this is our next session in a month where we look about implications to practice. So Denise, as we said, has presented this really awesome service development around looking at what matters to whānau and family. And again, like I said, if we can come back and we can carry on that conversation there. And I'd just like to thank Denise very much for sharing and for all her hard mahi on the development. It sounds like it's a really great opportunity for supporting communication and empowering the families that we're working in partnership with. Cool. So it is 12:30. So we will. Oh, and there's just some people saying thank you in the chat. So we will sign off, but hope to see you all in a month's time.
Thanks. See you then.
Thank you, everybody. Do I just stop recording now?
Yeah.